Are you a student teacher now looking to apply for your very first job? Or are you a teacher looking for a fresh start in a new school or a new position? If so, then I've got the perfect video for you, because today I'm going to talk to you about how you can best prepare for a teaching interview. Hello, I'm Ben from Wag On Teaching, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can best prepare for interviews. Yes, it's that time of the year where student teachers are now looking to apply for their first posts as primary school teachers. And indeed, many of our teachers are also looking for fresh starts, new opportunities, and so maybe applying for that next step up, both within their school or possibly a new school. So I just want to spend a few moments talking through how you can best prepare for an interview, what topics you need to consider, and how best to structure your answers so it really showcases just how fantastic you are. So here are my top tips for how you can best prepare for a teaching interview. So the first thing you need to consider is the topics for your interview. Generally, interview questions all surround similar topics and themes regarding teaching and learning. So ultimately, it doesn't matter how the question's asked, they all refer to similar topics. So if you prepare for the topics of the questions, you know that no matter what question is being asked, you already have an answer prepared. So I'm just going to list a few topics for you to note down so that you can best prepare for the questions. The first one is why you are applying for the post, and that covers what interests you have, what attracted you to their school, but also perhaps why, if you already are a teacher, you're moving from one school to another. This is an opportunity for you to share exactly what you know already about the school and why you think you would best fit into their ethos. The next topic is usually surrounding your teaching and learning. They may ask you to describe a lesson that's gone really well, and they may also ask you to describe a lesson that hasn't gone as well. They will also want you to draw upon how you know a lesson went well and how you know a lesson didn't go well and what you would do to change and adapt. Don't be afraid of admitting mistakes. What they're looking for really is, are you capable of learning and developing and noticing when something doesn't go well? No teachers are perfect, and what's really important for schools is that teachers recognise when things have gone wrong and know what to do to improve. Self-awareness is key. They may expand that into your professional development. So they may ask you what you think your strengths are and also what your next steps are, linking to your performance objectives and targets. So refer to what you've been working on previously and how you've overcome that and how you know you've overcome it. The next thing they may ask about is your relationship with staff members and pupils. Are you personable? So questions like, what would a colleague say about you? What would a colleague say your strengths and next steps are? What would your children say your strengths and next steps are? All of these questions are basically asking you about your personability skills and how you engage with both other staff members and students. They then may expand into what your extra interests are. And of course, really what they want to know is what extra additional skills you can bring to the team. So that might be interests and hobbies, sports, music, etc., linking to extracurricular activities. Ultimately, this is an opportunity for you to share your personality, to share your passions and interests wider than the everyday classroom subjects. So the next thing that we'll probably start to pick apart is the more finer details of teaching and learning, the things that really count in the classroom, such as assessment. How do you assess the students on a day-to-day basis, and how do you use that to turn it into summative assessments and ensure that your assessments are accurate? And that's really about asking students questions, observing what they're doing, marking them feedback, and ultimately then pulling that into working with other colleagues to ensure that what you're assessing your children at is in line with curriculum standards. They will always throw in a question about safeguarding and what you would do if a child shares some information that you deem to be a safeguarding issue. And of course, the answer is always to do with following school's policy and making sure that you're promising not to keep secrets and sharing information in a very clear and concise way with whoever the designated safeguarding officer is within that school. They will also ask you about personalisation and differentiation in the classroom and how you ensure that every single child achieves the best that is possible for them. It's about personalising their learning, differentiation, and making sure that you're challenging every single child as best as possible. They may also touch upon behaviour management and how you ensure that you praise and celebrate learning, but also how you would deal with misbehaviour in the classroom. And then the final thing that we'll probably touch upon is your aspirations for the future. Questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? What do you really want to do? And ultimately, that's an opportunity for you to share your ambitions as a school teacher, where you want to be in the future, and show that you're driven as a professional. So those are the topics that I would look to cover and prepare for when you're approaching your interview. So tip number 1 was all about the different topics that you need to think about when preparing for an interview. I'm now going to talk through 3 more top tips that can support you with how to answer questions clearly, to ensure that you get just as much out of the interview as they do, and to ensure that you are demonstrating that you really know the school that you're applying for. The second tip is really of how you approach the interview. Remember that yes, the school is interviewing you to see whether you're suitable and will fit into their team. But also remember that you're finding out whether you want to work with them. And so, of course, when they ask you, do you have any questions? Make sure you're prepared to ask them questions about how they're going to support you. The last thing you want is to end up in a school that don't share the same philosophies as you, that aren't prepared to support you, and ultimately compromise on your well-being. So make sure you prepare questions to ask yourself in order to build an understanding of whether this is a place that you would like to work. My third tip is be relevant. So before you enter the school, make sure you've done your research. As a student teacher, you probably applied for loads of schools, and remembering which ones you've applied for can be difficult. But when you've been offered that interview, make sure you do your research and you know the school. Look at their website, look at their previous Ofsted report, so you can really make sure your answers are relevant. If they have strengths of the school that have been identified, or they have unique parts of the school that you're interested in, make sure you bring that up at interview. And in turn, you're sharing that your personality matches that school identity. It's really impressive when someone has taken the opportunity to really understand the school that they've applied for. So the final top tip for interviews is how you structure your answers in an interview. So I've talked about the topics that you need to prepare for, but when you're answering the question, try and structure your answer with point, evidence, impact. Try and answer the question by going straight to the point of exactly what it is you're answering. Then try and add in some evidence from your own practice, an example from something that you've experienced that really explains the point that you're trying to make. And finally, impact. Always refer to the impacts that had back on the children. Remember, we're here to make the children's lives better. We're here to make the children learn. So whenever you're talking about anything within an interview, bring it back to the children. It will really bring home to the interview panel that you are child focused. So for example, when talking about behaviour management, your point might be that you like to nurture and motivate children by celebrating their successes with a rewards chart. The evidence is that in your previous school, you started a sticker reward chart where the children received stickers on a chart, and when they reached the 20, they had a golden time on a Friday. Your impact of that was that children were really motivated. The children always got enough stickers to make it to golden time, and you saw an increase in positive behaviour and work ethic within your classroom. By structuring your answers like this, you're showing that you have clear focus on exactly what you want to talk about, but have tangible evidence and examples to support everything you're saying. And so that's it. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it gives you some pointers of how you can prepare for an interview as thoroughly as possible. I'm Ben from Ragwell Teaching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Have a really great day.